America's cowboy country always had a reputation for attracting outlaws and gunslingers, united by the common goals of expansion, greed, and reinvention. But one man was determined to make the Wild West wilder than it had ever been before. Who would have thought an Indian guru promising enlightenment would make this his home? And who would have thought Rancho Rajneesh would have attracted, in addition to countless cult members, over 90 Rolls Royces, watches containing 31 carats worth of diamonds, a fleet of private jets, and donations somewhere in the league of $200 million from 30,000 Rajneeshis worldwide. Was he the real deal, or just another smooth-talking con artist? In today's Masters episode, we're going to find out. Hi everyone, welcome back to Vedic Life Coaching. Thank you so much for joining me, and welcome back to the Masters series. Today we're having coffee with Osho Rajneesh. I've been really looking forward to this episode for so long. I wrote part of the script that I'm going to read today towards the end of last year. The end part of the script where I say, what do I think? So from there on, I wrote that last year. And then the rest of this script, I managed to find time this week. I wrote it yesterday and today. So I've been looking at the life of Osho Rajneesh. What an amazing man. He packed so much into a very short life. He died at a young age. He was only 59 years old when he died. I couldn't believe it. When I was researching that this week, I was like, wow, that's young. That's really young. So why don't we get into the script straight away, because it's a bit of a long one. I've gone over the 2-page limit. There is so much to say about this man. So it'll be interesting to hear your thoughts. Were you a fan? Do you like him? Do you find him inspiring? Me personally, I love Osho. I'm a big fan of his work. I find him to be very inspiring, and I find his short little videos that you can get on YouTube for free, I find them so relaxing. It's really nice just to watch them in the evening after dinner kind of thing. It's just great, you know. He teaches you something new, he illuminates your mind, he even gets you laughing as well. So let's get straight into my script. I've got it here on my iPad and I'm just going to read it out. So that way I stay focused. There is a lot of fine detail that we're going to cover in this episode. So let's begin. In the introduction to this video, I asked the question, is it possible to use astrology to see if we're dealing with someone of sound mind, or indeed a con artist? In the past on this channel, I've often been asked if you can use a chart to see if someone is real or fake, true or false, good or bad. And unfortunately, my answer to all of these questions is always no. You see, the more I study a person, the harder it is to say they are only this or that. Plus, a chart gives us far more information and complex shades of grey than a black and white question can possibly fathom. But let's take a look and see what we can see for sure. The first thing that strikes me in this chart is the jam-packed 8th house. Governed by Sagittarius, one can for sure say that this person will intellectualize all things occult. And sure enough, in 1960, at the young age of 29, during Mars-Moon period, Osho was granted a full professorship in philosophy at Jabalpur University. Back then, he was known as Acharya Rajneesh, Acharya meaning professor, and Rajneesh, his childhood nickname. From 1960 to 1966, while Mars Mahadasha gave way to Rahu Mahadasha, Rajneesh toured India, giving controversial lectures far and wide. To flourish again, he would say, India needed capitalism, modern science, and birth control. He claimed Indian religions were dead, filled with empty rituals, unnecessarily oppressing people through superstitions and fears. Look at that, he claimed Indian religions were dead. Where is that in his chart? Can we see it? Yes, we can. It's in that glorious 8th house of his, where Sagittarius is 12th from its original house position. 12th from is loss, death. Sagittarius is religions, beliefs. Through that 8th house, Rajneesh can't help but see the death of religion. For him, it was the place where unquestioned beliefs go to die. His controversial shake you up to wake you up techniques were ultimately not appreciated by the university, who asked him to leave in 1966 during his Rahu-Saturn period, aged 35 to 36, the time when Saturn matures in a person's life. It was time to grow up, and Rajneesh was more than ready for the next layer of life to unfold. 1974 and 1975 were the years when Rajneesh began to expand with the help of other people. Interestingly, Rahu's sun was active in 1975, and we can see the sun is perfectly positioned in the house of other people and governed by Scorpio. Scorpio, which can also be seen as drugs and OPM, both of which Rajneesh was somewhat addicted to. OPM? Yeah, other people's money. A Greek shipping heiress helped finance the Pune ashram, and many international therapists were invited to share their modalities with attendees. Many attendees were also international. So where can we see all these foreign connections in the chart? That's easy. 4th Lord in the 7th house denotes that one's home and income can be international. Rahu being in Pisces, in the house of hopes, dreams and wishes, is also indicating a foreign agenda, so long as he wished it to be. Let's talk a bit more about this Rahu, because Rahu is our North Star, the place where we must go in this lifetime. Some people in life are cautiously cat-like, preferring to stay in their Ketu cage until destiny pushes them out if they're not on their way by age 42. But Rajneesh, well, it feels like he was always running in Rahu's direction. He was perfecting his Rahu long before he was required to do so. I'd say since his early 30s, and I'd actually say, reading the script again, since he was 29 when he got that professorship. Boy, was he perfecting Rahu back then. So he was doing very well on his trajectory. Governed by an exalted Jupiter, which links through a Parivartana exchange to his moon, his brilliant mind, this powerful engine of stars was future-oriented, constantly pushing limits, breaking rules, seeking joy, and laughing at Mercury's measured rigidity and logic. Rahu in Jupiter, especially in Pisces, is very much about relaxing all the things that separate us. This, combined with his 8th house, gave him an impulse to not just relax the limits, but to destroy them, to raise hell if he had to, if it meant it would enlighten you. Saturn is in this house too, close to the moon, so this was a man who knew morality, and he was connected to the truth, whether he acted on it or not. 1981 was when things got really interesting. Jupiter-Saturn period gifted Rajneesh a 5.75 million slice of Oregon in the United States. As Jupiter Mahadasha so often does for an individual, it expanded Rajneesh's horizons internationally. Now that Rajneesh was in his 50th year, we can definitely read his D9 chart in full, as all major planetary maturations have come and gone. It's interesting to see that in his D9 chart, Saturn is in the 6th house, with Jupiter as its lord. A few short months after moving into his new premises, Rajneesh found himself in court battle after court battle. It turns out, and I believe rightly so, that neighbours weren't too happy about how this piece of land was being used. With the Lord of the 6th house conjunct Ketu in the 9th, I can't help but feel that the many battles were coming thick and fast from past lives, karma that had to be paid this time around. Now, talking about Rajneesh without mentioning his secretary, Sheela, would be like talking about Bonnie without Clyde, or Butch Cassidy without the Sundance Kid. Sheela, I do believe, was the brains behind the American operation, and it's fascinating to look at her chart, which when rectified to a time of 6 p.m. produces a birth chart that is strikingly similar to that of Osho Rajneesh. Sun alone in the 7th, Rahu in Pisces in roughly the same direction, and a jam-packed 8th house opposite Pluto's gaze. Though she was stung by her association with him, Scorpio, in the house of partnerships, she praises Osho for being a genius with a beautiful mind. When asked if they made a good con team, she corrected the interviewer and said they made a good team, not a con team. And you know what? Now, seeing her chart, I would have to agree. They weren't con artists, just regular artists who happened to have a real knack for commercialization. Their product wasn't enlightenment. It was intellectual entertainment, and it was for consenting adults. So I see no problem in that. What do I think? Well, even though I don't ever want to commit crimes or take drugs or amass material assets, Osho, when I listen to your recordings, I can't help but see something of me in you. My skin is brown like yours, with the texture of sandpaper. And in time, my hair will be brittle and grey, like yours. Okay, so maybe you ran a cult and presided over team members that attempted murder and quite possibly the first act of bioterrorism in America. But world-class crimes aside, I will always read your musings on love and marvel at what your fine mind left behind. After all, who else would say it takes a certain darkness to see the stars, or that life begins where fear ends? While others may run screaming from your presence, outraged and inflamed, after reading your works, I discover that yours is a fire I want to run into. You've taught me that a mature heart can find a strange joy in authentically experiencing unpopular emotions, that pure sadness, unfettered by the static of anxiety, is an acquired taste that a mature heart can grow to love. Like red wine and blue cheese, the top notes of Send in the Clowns, and your sublime lines that read like classic poetry. These are things I could never understand as a child. But give me 1.3 revolutions of Saturn's orbit, and you'll find me losing myself in all of this and more. The more is you, an intoxicating mixture of madness, chaos, and beauty. So that's my overview for today. I hope you enjoyed that. Let me know in the comments below if you're a fan of Osho's work, if you find his writings or his videos and lectures to be inspiring, because they definitely inspire me. I'd love to know what you have to say. I always love reading your comments. So thank you to everybody who leaves a comment. And I look forward to seeing you next time.